Euromaxx Highlights. And here's your host, Anne O'Donnell.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to Euromaxx Highlights for a roundup of our favourite reports from the week. Let's have a look at our top three. Fashion front, how to enter the elite world of haute couture. Dutch designs artist Theo Jansen and his mythical beach animals. And nostalgic notion how a Swiss village revives the 19th century vacation. Well, haute couture creations are high-end, handmade pieces designed by major fashion houses. But the labels still need to get a formal invite from a select group of designers before they can even call their wares haute couture and show them at Paris Fashion Week. Euromaxx went behind the scenes to find out more about the politics of the elite fashion forces.
Fashion labels present exclusive creations at haute couture events. There are 24 shows this season on the official Paris haute couture calendar. Only a select few get to show off their designs. There are 3 ways a fashion label can be invited.
Foreign labels like Giorgio Armani and Versace, who produce and present their haute couture in Paris, are called corresponding members. Then there are the newer fashion houses who are not yet full members. These are the invited guests like Kayak. And finally, there are the established members like Chanel and Dior. And they decide whether these newer labels have the potential to become haute couture labels in the full sense of the term.
Kayak is participating in the haute couture shows for the 2nd time as a guest participant. The modern sculptural items were designed by Ege. After 20 years in the business, the label wants to take its place at the top table of fashion.
Haute couture is a challenge because it's difficult to make an haute couture dress. The simpler and clearer a dress is supposed to be, the more complicated its production. In haute couture, you see even the smallest mistakes if you don't have perfect craftsmanship. And that's what I like about it.
To join the exclusive couture circle, a label has to have a studio in Paris, employ 20 dressmakers, and design at least 35 different models per season. To give new fashion labels a chance, the Paris Fashion Chamber of Commerce has relaxed the strict selection criteria and is willing to make exceptions. But the clothes still have to be custom-made and sewn by hand, as with Kayak.
It's a privilege to be able to work on such a collection. An haute couture dress requires a lot of research if it's to keep its geometric form and not collapse. It's not all beads and embroidery. It's primarily about the construction of the dress.
Jean-Paul Gaultier's latest haute couture collection consists of 61 different wedding dresses. They're among his best sellers. The French designer gave up making ready-to-wear items entirely last year to concentrate on the highest form of tailoring.
Haute couture is enough. When I began at age 22, I made only a single collection. Recently, I had to make 8 collections in 1 year. No one can keep that up when they're getting older.
Jean-Paul Gaultier puts all his creativity into haute couture. Putting prominent guests like Catherine Deneuve, Conchita Wurst, Carla Bruni and supermodel Naomi Campbell on the catwalk is good for his label's image.
An haute couture show also fuels the sale of a label's perfumes and cosmetics, and this area is extremely lucrative for a luxury trademark. In haute couture, Jean-Paul Gaultier can prove his artistic talent and the ability of his tailoring studio.
Haute couture patron Muna Ayub already owns several Gaultier designs. A multi-millionaire, she's a regular at the Paris shows and owns more than 1,500 haute couture creations. If she likes a dress, she buys it, no matter what it costs.
The last dress I bought cost 500,000 euros. For an haute couture dress, you usually pay between 60,000 and 500,000. It all depends on the time needed to make it and what goes into the embroidery. They worked for 6 months on my dress.
A hefty price tag. But to maintain exclusivity, a designer can sell only a few copies of a dress. Haute couture newcomers like Ege have to meet formal criteria and demonstrate talent and competitiveness. Only then do they have a chance to be accepted into the exclusive club.
Now she'll need to be chosen by the full members to receive the title Haute Couture from the Ministry of Economics. That can take 4 or 5 years. I wish her the best. She deserves it.
Creative director Ege and Dice Kayak have certainly taken the first steps towards that goal.
Time now to catch up with a mountain enthusiast who has made a living out of doing what he loves most. This is a man who has cracked the altitude challenge to make award-winning films while dangling from a height. Let's meet Paul Diffley.
Fearsome rock faces and daunting drops. Athletes pit their fingernails against breathtaking climbing routes and the toughest conditions that nature has to offer. When the world's best mountaineers take one of those giddy heights in their sights, Paul Diffley is often there to capture all the action on camera. Diffley runs the film production company Haute together with partner Chris Prescott. They've now made 11 veritable cliffhangers.
With climbing, you're not just, it's not like other sports where you're trying to beat the other team or beat the other individual. It's more of a personal journey you're on with climbing. You're trying to improve yourself, and you're trying to, it's you against the rock, you against the elements. And I think because of that, climbing generates just some great stories.
Dumbarton Rock overlooks the River Clyde in Scotland. As a stronghold, it's seen its fair share of battles over the centuries. And more recently, some epic struggles filmed by Paul Diffley. It's also the scene for his latest film, Redemption. James Pearson's quest to redeem his reputation among fellow climbers by scaling the rock without assistance. Filming was a challenge in itself. Paul Diffley used drone-mounted cameras, but also got up close to the action because there are no second takes here.
Because the climbing's so hard, when you're filming, you can't ask the climber to stop. You have to be in the right position at the right time. And the only way you can film them is really to sort of be on the rock with them, to hang off the rock with ropes. And the best position for filming climbing is kind of above the climber, looking down, because then you see the face, you see the hands. And because the rock ends there, the only way to do that is to get above them. And so we've done that by using camera cranes and looking back down.
Paul Diffley has been an avid climber himself since the age of 16. That gives him vital insights into what his protagonists face. Plus, it keeps him in shape for that exhausting camera work. It was that hobby that got him into filming in the first place.
So I still enjoy it. I mean, climbing's it's a wonderful blend of the mind and the body, because you have to focus fully on the mind and you have to work out the moves. It's not just about physical strength.
It was at Dumbarton Rock that he shot his first major film. It documented the first ever solo conquest of the rock. Scotsman Dave MacLeod spent 18 months on his attempt, enduring a number of painful falls. The specific route he established is classed as one of the toughest in the world, a labor of love with a happy ending.
Yes! Woo! The rock here is very special. It's very dense rock, and it forms really tight little handholds, tight footholds, and it makes the climbing incredibly hard. And also, the main face here is quite steep. It's like 15, 20 degrees over. So, which makes it for some of the world's hardest rock climbing.
E11, named after the rock's climbing grade, won Diffley 13 awards. He taught himself how to operate a camera and edit while working as an IT specialist. But in 2006, he ditched computers for climbing and made his passion his profession.
I just walked out, left my shoes and my clothes on the desk, and just never came back. And it was pretty rash, because at the time I had no training in filmmaking. I'd made a couple of films but never won any awards, and certainly never made any money. So it was quite a gamble, but I was ready for a change.
That gamble paid off, and he's never looked back or down. He makes some of the equipment himself, such as this makeshift bosun's chair, fashioned from an old skateboard. His films are largely low-budget affairs, and he relies on sponsorship for more ambitious undertakings, such as 2013's Distilled. Diffley makes his living from the proceeds of DVD sales and downloads.
Everybody has access to, decent cameras now, decent software. We're up there, there's a lot of competition out there. A lot of people are making films, so it's trying to make your film stand out, make your production values look higher than everyone else's. But for us, we've always concentrated on story. I think if you can tell a story, you can connect with an audience emotionally.
And for a good story, Paul Diffley can always come back to Dumbarton Rock, the place he set out on his ascent to reach the peak of his craft.
Well, Theo Jansen is one artist with a wild imagination. If you saw one of his creations coming towards you on a beach, you might be screaming. That's because the beach beasts, or Strand Beasts, are a cross between a robot and an insect, and they move along with the wind. You can find them on beaches in the Netherlands, but Jansen also displays them at art exhibitions worldwide.
Creatures from another planet on Holland's North Sea coast. As soon as the wind blows, they start moving. Their creator, Theo Jansen, calls them Strand Beasts. The 66-year-old Jansen has made a name for himself in the art world with them, but he doesn't feel comfortable with the label artist.
I don't feel like an artist. I still feel an alien or an Eskimo, whatever.
Theo Jansen likes to experiment. His Strand Beasts are complex constructions made from simple materials that he buys at the do-it-yourself market. String, cable ties, and the kind of plastic tubes used in laying electric cable. He first started working with the yellow tubing in 1990. That was when the Strand Beasts were born.
And then I played for an afternoon with the tubes. And at the end of the afternoon, I'd seen so many things in there that I decided to spend 1 year on the tubes. And that's 24 years ago now. It went just on and on. It couldn't stop. And it became a serious addiction, you could say, to the tubes.
Over the years, Jansen has kept improving his constructions. He builds legs, joints, and spines out of the yellow plastic tubes. Before he began creating art, Jansen studied physics. His work on the new species certainly requires a knowledge of physics and plenty of improvisation.
In the meantime, put a new one in. So there were specific tools which were developed during the years, which are just made for Strand Beasts. You cannot use them for anything else.
Strand Beasts have sails like ships, and they move when the wind blows. When there is no wind, they're powered by compressed air from built-in plastic bottles. The beasts can even store wind power and use it like a battery. And if a storm blows up, they anchor themselves in the sand with a post so they don't fall over. Built-in sensors stop the beasts from running into the sea. Jansen keeps making his creatures more and more intelligent.
I want to make a new nature. So I don't want to make an imitation of the old nature. And I want to be the shape, not as a beautiful shape or a reference to something else. No, the shape has to be just functional. And this turns out to be the functional shape of the beasts.
But as in nature, Darwin's law is in force, survival of the fittest. Theo Jansen has built several generations of beasts in the last 24 years. His goal is to have them live on without him. And this evolutionary tale is far from over.
It's fast, isn't it, for evolution? But I have to be fast because I don't have millions of years. Maybe I have just 20 years. And so there need to be go another 40 generations in the future.
Theo Jansen's Strand Beasts are found all over the world, on beaches and in exhibitions. Jansen hopes that other people will continue to refine his constructions.
They will survive and hopefully inspire younger people to go on with this. And so as soon as they have spread out my ashes over the beach, then maybe the new generations are going on with this.
An exhibition of Theo Jansen's Strand Beasts opens in Paris in February.
Well, skiing in the Swiss alpine village of Kandersteg, it seems like time has stood still there. Many hotels are from the turn of the 20th century, and there are no major ski lifts there either. Kandersteg decided to cash in on that with its Belle Epoque Week celebrations, winter holidays from a bygone era.
Those who could afford a winter holiday around 1900 were not primarily interested in sport. These were ladies and gentlemen who came to see and be seen. For an entire week, the community of Kandersteg in Switzerland turns back the clock 100 years. And visitors come from all over to join in.
All of us have something in common. They're perhaps a bit crazy, but in a nice way. It's fun meeting people here.
Living like 100 years ago.
Exactly. We love older style clothes in general. We also love old machinery. We love to go on steam engines. It's fun. It was a great era.
We made a lot of the outfits ourselves. Some things we bought, like the top hats. Some of the hats were handmade.
There's a hat competition, but I can't go because I'm already convinced that my hat is the most beautiful.
Jeroen Wils has been to all 6 of the Belle Epoque weeks. He grew up in Kandersteg and now works in Bern for the Swiss Alpine Club. Once again, he's getting ready for this year's ski race. He's careful to ensure his outfit is as genuinely 19th century as possible. Every year he gets closer to that goal.
I've had the sweater for ages. I've got old military glasses. The leg bindings are also from the military. The trousers are mine, and my partner recently bought the shoes in an online auction for my birthday.
Then it's time to take to the slopes, on foot of course. There were no ski lifts in 1900, and the skis were a little different in those days too.
I have to make sure that I'm properly in at the front and that there's enough tension at the back, although the skis vary quite a bit. These don't have any edge or base bevels, as you can see, but some do, and these are telemark skis with a free heel.
With equipment like this, even the experienced skiers tend to stick to the snowplow as they make their way down the mountain. Just like in the old days, the slopes have not been groomed in advance. Most of the participants are not aiming to win. Just making it to the finish line is challenging enough.
It was the English who first started skiing here, as well as the Scandinavians. And to begin with, speed wasn't important. It was all about enjoyment. It was only later that they started setting up slaloms and preparing the slopes. It wasn't about speed back then. It was all about the social event.
And to ensure the success of that social event, newcomers receive a class in etiquette in preparation for the evening ball.
Ladies must always wear gloves at a ball. There's only one official reason why a lady might remove her gloves, and that is to eat puff pastry with her hand. Anyway, she certainly wouldn't do that here. Otherwise, ladies always wear gloves at a ball.
For Jeroen Wils, the time has now come to transform himself into a 19th century gentleman.
It's not about dressing up, it's reenacting a time which really did exist here. I think that's important. That's what people love about it. It's reenacting history.
One of the highlights of the Belle Epoque Week is the ball, held at a local Art Nouveau hotel. Only the very wealthy would have been able to attend an event like this. Live musicians provide the accompaniment.
One thing I like more about those days is that life was slower. It was a lot less hectic, more relaxed.
But one thing hasn't changed. If it was a good evening, the dancing continued all night, then as now.
Marcello Barenghi is one extremely talented artist whose work is so accurate, most people actually think that they're looking at a photo. Well, millions admire his handiwork on YouTube, but we caught up with him in Milan to see how he brings his 3D-looking artwork to life.
3 hours' work compressed into a video just a few seconds long. The result? A €5 note. It's a little crumpled, but looks amazingly real. At first glance, it's really hard to tell. Is this a photo or is it a drawing?
There's no special technique. The style is called HyperRealism, and you just have to try and depict all the details of an object as accurately as possible. In the end, it becomes an object unto itself.
Barenghi uses photos or the object itself as the basis for his drawings. He then conjures up a perfect copy, and he makes it look easy.
I always draw on a thick gray sheet. I draw and paint on it with various media, such as very intensive watercolors and assorted pencils and colored pencils. At the end, I use acrylics, in particular white or black acrylic paint, to add details.
Marcello Barenghi records the entire process with a camera. He edits the film down to a few minutes using a computer. Slowly, the 3D effect emerges through the precise use of light and shadow. Every week, he posts videos like this on his own YouTube account. The 45-year-old now makes a good living from the advertising revenue. His videos often get thousands or even millions of clicks.
I hadn't expected that. In particular, because in my past there were people who told me that my illustrations weren't any good. Some of them even advised me to give up drawing and painting altogether. And now suddenly there are people all over the world who like my pictures. That was a big surprise for me.
This is a drawing based on a childhood photo of himself. Barenghi was 11 at the time. Later, he went to art school in Milan. But he gave up graphic design in the 1990s.
That was a bad time for me. The first graphic design programs were coming onto the market, and a lot of illustrators who worked by hand were simply replaced. Now, 20 years later, things have changed around again. By using computers, a lot of people have lost the ability to make good hand-drawn graphic design. That's why hand-drawn pictures are so much in demand again today.
Nowadays, Marcello Barenghi is self-employed. He lives and works in a small town close to Milan. This is where he creates his pictures and finds an inexhaustible supply of ideas for his hyper-realistic 3D illusion drawings, which he also sells as prints.
I simply look in my flat or supermarket for something that I like. For example, I've already drawn these small coffee cups here.
He's also painted Da Vinci's Mona Lisa using the same technique and on the same scale as the original.
I needed almost 3 weeks for the Mona Lisa. That includes waiting for the oil paint to dry. So it's a technique that requires a bit more time.
But Marcello Barenghi prefers to copy what's right in front of him. And the amazing ease with which he captures the appearance of these objects on paper is simply impressive.
That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back here again next week. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.